Hey math fans, we're on section 5.6.1. Let's get started. We've spent a lot of time looking at rigid transformations and rigid motions, like translations, rotations, and reflections, to say that two triangles are congruent, the pre-image and the image. But what does it mean when you have two triangles that are congruent? Well, that means that all the corresponding angles and the corresponding sides will be congruent. The main postulate that we're going to be using in this section is called corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent, or in other words, CPCTC. Let me explain what that means. Below I have two triangles, and if you see, I also have it written in their congruency statement. The way I have this written, it says triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. The order very much matters the way you write the congruency statement. And it should follow in the picture, and we should be able to come up with the 6 parts that will be congruent. Let's take a look at the angles. The first angle is A, mentioned in the triangle ABC, and the first angle in the second triangle is D. That means that those will be congruent. And as you can see, angle A and angle D are marked with the same arc. We call those corresponding angles. The second angle mentioned is B. And the second angle in the other triangle mentioned is E. Those are going to be two corresponding angles that will be congruent. And last, you have angle C and angle F. They also will be congruent. Well, what about the sides? Well, notice that AB are the first two letters in this triangle, and DE are the first two letters in this triangle, and that is going to mean that line segment AB is going to be congruent to line segment DE. The next two are BC and then EF, and then finally you have AC and DF. Order matters the way you write the triangle congruent statement. Based off the picture, there are my 6 congruent statements. I have 3 congruent corresponding angles, and then I have 3 congruent corresponding sides. To help you keep track in the picture, for side lengths, we use tick marks. Tick marks are the lines that you see drawn on the segment. Notice how line segment AB has 1 tick mark, and we show that it's congruent to line segment DE on the second triangle. For angles, we use the arc. Notice how angle A has 1 arc and angle D has 1 arc. Angle B has 2 arcs, angle E has 2 arcs. That means that they correspond with each other based off the number of arcs. Here are some common errors and misconceptions. Example 2, triangle BDF is congruent to triangle HJL. It says, name the corresponding angles and sides of the congruent triangles. The only thing we have to go off of is the way the congruent statement is ordered. So based off the order, we're going to say that B is congruent to H, angle D is congruent to angle J, and then angle F is congruent to angle L. Again, based off the order, we're going to say line segment BD is congruent to line segment HJ. Line segment DF is congruent to line segment JL. And line segment BF is congruent to line segment HL. I know what you're thinking. That's a lot of line segments and angles to keep track of. You're probably thinking, what the HL? Sometimes you're not given all the information. You might need to use construction tools to determine if the triangles are congruent. So here it says use construction tools and then name the congruent triangles and corresponding angles and sides. So what kind of construction tools can we use? Well, we can use a protractor, and we can actually measure the angles of either Q or R or P and then try and find their corresponding angle in the other triangle. For side lengths, we'll use a compass. In this particular problem, after using a compass and a protractor, we can determine that indeed these two triangles are congruent with line segment PR congruent to line segment UT, PQ to US, QR to ST. And then you have the three corresponding angles as well. It does not matter how you write the first triangle, but the corresponding angles do need to be written correctly in the second triangle. And that's going to do it for this section. We'll see you in class.